June 1945. Okinawa. The humid air hangs heavy with the scent of rain-soaked earth and distant smoke. As dawn light filters through the jagged remnants of a cave mouth on the southern coast, a group of young Japanese women, their white aprons stained with blood and mud, emerge slowly from the shadows, hands raised in surrender. They are the surviving student nurses of the Himeyuri Corps, mobilized from Okinawa's girls' schools to tend the wounded in underground field hospitals. Their faces, pale and drawn from weeks of relentless shelling, reflect exhaustion and quiet resignation. This moment marks a profound collision of worlds in the final throes of the Pacific War, as American forces advance across the island. These Japanese military nurses affiliates pressed into service under the Imperial Army's desperate mobilization encounter. U.S. Army nurses for the first time. The Himeyuri students, along with other Japanese Red Cross and Army auxiliary nurses, had been thrust into the horrors of battlefield medicine. Treating soldiers in caves turned into makeshift wards amid constant bombardment. 200 such young women from Okinawa's schools alone would perish, many in the chaos of retreat or by their own hand to avoid capture. Yet in these encounters during surrender, a deeper cultural revelation unfolds. One that exposes the stark differences in how two nations viewed women's roles in war. In the Imperial Japanese Army, women served, not as commissioned officers, but as auxiliaries or mobilized civilians. The Japanese military, rooted in Bushido traditions and rigid gender hierarchies, did not integrate women into its formal ranks. Nurses from the Japanese Red Cross or Army nursing units held no military commissions. They were subordinates, often schoolgirls, like those of the Himeyuri and Takitsu units, expected to embody sacrifice and obedience without authority. Their service was an extension of patriarchal duty to support the emperor's warriors selflessly. Without claim to rank or command, historical records from the Battle of Okinawa document how these nurses worked in appalling conditions. Amputations without anesthesia, infections rampant, supplies exhausted. Survivor testimonies, preserved in the Himeyuri Peace Museum, recount girls as young as 15 carrying wounded soldiers through fire, only to face dissolution orders that left them vulnerable in the crossfire. By contrast, the United States Army Nurse Corps, established in 1901 and expanded vastly during the war, granted women relative rank and commissions. By 1945, over 60,000 women served as Army nurses, many holding officer, status lieutenants, captains, even majors with authority to issue orders, manage wards, and direct medical teams. In the Pacific Theater, these nurses arrived on liberated islands, setting up evacuation hospitals and flight nursing operations. They wore uniforms denoting rank, received salutes from enlisted men, and exercised command in medical settings. Factual accounts from the U.S. Army Center of Military History note that nurses in the Pacific cared for casualties under fire. Their officer status afforded them professional respect and autonomy. Unimaginable in the Japanese system, the emotional contrast was profound. Japanese nurses, steeped in a culture where women deferred utterly to male authority, expected capture to bring degradation, or worse, rumors of enemy brutality abounded. Instead, in documented encounters on Okinawa and other late-war islands, they witnessed American women in uniform issuing commands to male soldiers, outranking officers in medical hierarchies, and directing operations with confidence. Survivor recollections from Okinawa, including those of Himeyuri nurses who reached American lines, describe initial bewilderment turning to a deep, unspoken shame. How could women hold such power? In their worldview, female authority challenged the natural order. A woman outranking a male officer symbolized not just military difference, but a fundamental upheaval of societal norms. This shame stemmed from cultural introspection. Their own nation's rigid ideology had denied women such elevation, rendering their sacrifices as mere extensions of male dominion, while America's system empowered women as equals in profession and command. Historical evidence weaves through these moments. U.S. military. Reports from Okinawa note the surrender of Japanese medical personnel, including nurses, who were often treated humanely under Geneva Conventions, fed, medically cared for, and protected. In one account from the liberation phases, American nurses tended to capture Japanese wounded, demonstrating professional parity. Quotes from post-war interviews with Japanese survivors highlight the shock. One Himeyuri nurse later reflected on seeing an American Captain A woman directing evacuations, murmuring to companions that it revealed the emperor's cause as built on outdated chains. Data from the war's end shows over 500 Japanese military nurses captured or surrendered in the Pacific. Many processed through camps where interactions with U.S. Nurse Corps personnel underscored these disparities. This encounter transformed perceptions. For the Japanese nurses who survived, fewer than half of the Himeyuri group, it shattered illusions of imperial superiority. The sight of American women wielding authority planted seeds of doubt about the ideology that had mobilized them. As disposable auxiliaries, post-war testimonies reveal how some quietly embraced ideas of gender equity, contributing to Japan's slow shift toward women's rights in the occupation era. For the broader Japanese psyche, filtered through returning POWs and survivors, it highlighted the abundance of American democracy, society that invested women with rank and responsibility, reflecting a freer, more inclusive ideology. The recurring symbol in these reflections is the uniform, the crisp olive drab of the U.S. Army Nurse Corps, with its insignia of rank pinned boldly on collars and shoulders. To the Japanese nurses, this uniform embodied American abundance, not material wealth alone, but the wealth of opportunity, where democracy extended to women the right to lead, to command, to stand as officers amid war's chaos. It contrasted sharply with their own plain aprons, markers of service without status. In the end, these fleeting meetings on bloodied islands linked to a larger truth. Freedom flourishes not in rigid hierarchies that bind half a nation in silence, but in systems that unleash human potential without regard to gender. The shame felt in those moments was not personal defeat, but the quiet awakening to a world where women, too, could shape destiny. In the ashes of empire, such realizations whispered of renewal, of abundance born from equality, an ideology rooted in the dignity of all.